But it's your party that made it a political and religious issue in the first place. Farooq Sheikh.
You know, if you're going to be hamstrung by the past, you're going to be hamstrung by the past, Sagrika.
Farooq Sheikh, you know, do you feel
I think there is no need to, for us to be pretentious about this, that political parties have no role to play, or that the BJP was playing the impartial saint in this down the years from 90 onwards. I think the BJP was taking full advantage of it, and it did everything in its power to keep this pot boiling. And there were people on the side of the Muslim community who were frying their little chestnuts into that fire as well. But now that the Supreme Court, which has the highest credibility in the country, is going to be seized of the matter, once they give a judgment, it will be very difficult for anybody to stand up and say that we don't accept this or we don't accept that. Although the VHP and certain affiliates of the VHP have already said that we want the judgment in our favor or we are not going to accept it at all. So I don't think they'll have too much credibility left for two reasons. One, because the people are pretty tired of this issue and India really has moved on. And two, because one party, I mean, maybe they are making a virtue out of a necessity, but one party has been saying all along that whatever the courts decide. Unfortunately, what the Allahabad court did was, and the best we can say with all due respect is, that maybe it had its heart in the right place, but they came up with a very perplexing and a very strange verdict.
But the problem is that the evidence that is the court that is serving this case, as we're saying, is history, is archaeology, is faith, is sentiment. So how is a judicial process going to grapple with all these things?
Madam, I don't think that in the present order that is before us, the three judges have applied their mind properly. Otherwise, they would come to a single judgment, or at least there would be a straight 2-to-1 judgment. Isn't? The judgments cross each other.
Right.
On many points.
But let me bring you to the earlier point which we were talking about. There's a legal process, but there's also a political process, isn't there? Now the legal process, what if let's say hypothetically, the Supreme Court says it's a mosque, and the title suit goes to Sunni Waqf Board. That means the idols have to be removed? Ram Lalla and Sita Mata have to be removed? Now that may be politically impossible.
It may be politically difficult. It is not impossible. Because I would say this, all political parties which swear by the Constitution and believe in the rule of law cannot stand up and challenge the final judicial verdict of the Supreme Court.
So even if that comes, it will have to be made politically possible. Let me put that to Mahesh Jethmalani. Will your party, Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani, should the Supreme Court hand over possession and declare it a mosque as the Sunni Waqf Board is seeking, and grant relief of possession and relief of declaration, and say it's a mosque, and the idols of Sita Mata and Ram Lalla have to be removed from there because then it becomes a mosque? Will your party not seek a political mileage out of that?
In a nutshell, Sagrika, my party has said, and I reiterate what it said, that it will accept the final verdict of the Supreme Court as the law of this land and final closure on this issue. If you are going to speculate about whether there's going to be some malcontents who are going to take the streets, I don't want to get into that because that is divisive in itself.
No, how would you view that? How do you view the Sunni Waqf Board suit? The relief of possession and the relief of declaration. Declare it a mosque and grant possession. Do you think that the court can come up with just a legal verdict, or will the courts always be guided by the consequences of that verdict?
Well, it's difficult to say that the Allahabad High Court, I heard one of your speakers say it was a perplexing judgment. I don't think it's a perplexing judgment. I think it's a very well-reasoned judgment. It's relied upon the Archaeological Survey of India's report, and it's made its findings of fact. If anything, there's an element of confusion regarding the division of the property. That's the only area which may be of some dispute. And both sides are going to check their title out in the Supreme Court, so let's leave them to that now.
Okay, let's take a short break and come back and put to our panelists what can be the building blocks of a settlement, of a reconciliation between Hindus and Muslims. What will be the building block? Can the first building block be, as the Supreme Court itself has held in 1994, that the demolition of the Babri Masjid was a national shame? If that is accepted by both parties, can they go forward? Let's come back and talk about that.